Today, we uncover the 8 cheese brands the UK should be warning about. We reveal the truth about that block sitting in your fridge. Because the cheese we grew up trusting, the cheese our parents bought, the cheese our grandparents sliced for sandwiches, has quietly changed, one betrayal at a time. Somewhere along the line, cheese stopped being cheese and started becoming a processed product that still looked the part, but only in the same way a knockoff looks like the real thing. For decades, we've been told cheese is a wholesome source of calcium and protein. Yet behind the supermarket shelves, an entirely different story is playing out. A story of emulsifying salts replacing traditional aging, of modified starches replacing natural curd structure, of flavour compounds replacing time. It's a story of corporations hiding behind Union Jack imagery while polluting British rivers, of health claims masking dangerous salt levels, of artisan branding covering industrial shortcuts. And here's the part nobody talks about. Just a few decades ago, cheddar was made in small batches, wrapped in cloth and left to mature for months. The flavour came from time, from milk, from skill. Today, almost all supermarket cheese arrives in plastic, because plastic fits the needs of the industry far more than the needs of the consumer. And it goes deeper than packaging. We've reached a point where some of the most trusted brands in Britain are owned by multinational corporations on the other side of the world, where environmental fines become rounding errors against annual profits, and where the healthy option contains more salt than regular cheese. But this isn't about fear, it's about truth. Every time we peel back another layer, we realise the same thing. Nature makes food simple. The greed of the few makes it complicated. So today we're lifting the lid, not for fear but to inform, to empower, and to bring back the standards we deserve.
Number 1. Cathedral City Sliced and Processed Ranges. Cathedral City is Britain's best-selling cheddar brand. Over 13 million people buy it regularly. It generates £286 million in sales every year, carries a royal warrant, and comes from a factory with the worst environmental prosecution record in southwest England. The Davidstow Creamery in Cornwall, where Cathedral City is made, pleaded guilty to 21 environmental offences spanning 5 years. In one incident, they released a biocide that killed thousands of fish across 2 kilometres of the River Inny. Local residents reported headaches and described their lives as blighted by foul odours coming from the plant. But here's what disturbed me most. During the investigation, an employee was filmed removing the wastewater monitor from the effluent tank and placing it in a bucket of clean water. That's not negligence, that's a deliberate cover-up. The judge found evidence of poor middle management culture, with staff feeling intimidated and bullied. The company was fined £1.52 million. Their annual profit, £21 million. That fine was a rounding error. Now let's talk about what you're actually eating when you grab those Cathedral City slices. The block cheddar and the processed sliced line share the same brand name, but they couldn't be more different. The ingredient list for the slices reads like a chemistry experiment. Emulsifying salts, including E339 and E452, modified starch, milk proteins, and added flavouring. These aren't minor tweaks, they fundamentally change the cheese. Try the bend test. The slice folds in half without breaking, then springs back like a rubber band. Real cheddar snaps. This bends because emulsifying salts break down the natural curd structure, forcing water and fat into a uniform elastic sheet. Put one of these slices on hot toast and watch what happens. Instead of bubbling into golden pockets with that distinctive cheese aroma, it collapses into a glossy, featureless sheet that clings like plastic wrap. No ooze, no stretch, no depth. Just a uniform orange layer that tastes faintly of salt and dairy but lacks any real character. And that Union Jack on your Cathedral City packet, the Cornish heritage marketing? Cathedral City is owned by Saputo Inc., a Canadian multinational headquartered in Montreal. You're paying premium prices for cheese made at a facility that poisoned a river, covered it up, got caught, and is now seeking permission to expand production.
Number 2. Dairylea triangles and spreads. Walk down any supermarket aisle and you'll see Dairylea triangles in the snack section. The bright packaging targets children. The triangle format screams lunchbox convenience. Parents grab them, thinking they're providing calcium and protein. But here's what the label won't tell you clearly. This isn't cheese. Legally, Dairylea must be labelled as a cheese product, not actual cheese. The ingredient breakdown explains why. Only 50 to 60% of what's inside those foil triangles is actual cheese. The rest is phosphate salts, modified starch, and emulsifiers designed to create that spreadable texture. Those phosphate additives aren't harmless fillers. Unlike naturally occurring phosphate in food, additive phosphate is almost completely absorbed in your digestive system. Research links elevated phosphate levels to cardiovascular problems and vascular calcification, particularly concerning for children whose bodies are still developing. And the salt in fat content? In 2007, the Advertising Standards Authority banned Dairylea's full of good stuff advertising claim because it was simply false. The product contained too much salt and saturated fat to justify any health messaging. Yet today, that same formulation is still marketed to children with playful branding and fun dipping formats. The company changed the advertising, not the recipe. Your kids deserve real cheese, not a processed dairy product engineered for shelf life and convenience.
Number 3. Asda 30% less fat mature cheddar. This one genuinely shocked me. A comprehensive survey tested 607 cheese products across UK supermarkets, measuring salt content against Food Standards Agency targets, and Asda's reduced fat mature cheese came in with 2.0 grams of salt per 100 grams, the highest of any cheddar tested and 11% above the FSA maximum target. Let me put that in perspective. A 30-gram portion of this cheese, roughly the size of a matchbox, contains more salt than an entire packet of Walker's Ready Salted Crisps. 2 slices of cheese in a sandwich push you over 1 gram of salt from cheese alone. That's 17% of your entire daily allowance from one ingredient. And this is the healthy option. The cheese you grab thinking you're making a smart choice is literally worse than regular full-fat cheddar. This matters because 30% of UK adults have high blood pressure, rising to 60% for those aged 65 and over. High blood pressure costs the NHS over £2.1 billion annually, and excess salt is a primary driver. The cruel irony is that reduced fat cheeses fail because fat carries flavour. When manufacturers remove fat, they have to replace the depth and richness with something. That something is salt. Massive amounts of salt to trick your taste buds into thinking you're eating something satisfying. Professor Graham McGregor, chair of Action on Salt, said putting the food industry in charge of salt reduction was equivalent to putting Dracula in charge of the blood bank. An estimated 6,000 additional deaths have been attributed to stalled salt reduction progress, 4,000 of them premature and preventable, and Asda is selling the saltiest cheddar of all under a healthy label.
Number 4. Seriously strong cheddar. The branding sells boldness and intensity. The name promises a cheese with serious character. What you actually get is a product that shortcuts time with flavor engineering. Flip the packet over and you'll spot something that should raise immediate questions: added flavoring. That's not a minor detail. It's the difference between real maturity and manufactured intensity. Traditional cheddar develops its strength through months of careful aging. Complex enzymes break down proteins and fats, creating layers of nutty, sharp, and savory motes that evolve on your palate. Seriously Strong skips that process. Instead, flavor compounds and enzymes simulate what time should create naturally, delivering cheese in weeks instead of months. The result tastes harsh and one-dimensional, all sharpness with no depth or finish. And who profits from your purchase? Seriously Strong is owned by Groupe Lactalis, a French multinational and the largest dairy company in the world. They acquired the brand through their purchase of McClelland Group for over £150 million. When you buy Seriously Strong, your money flows to Laval, France, not to British dairy farmers, not to British jobs, not to British communities. The cheese itself might not be contaminated, but when British dairy farmers are in crisis, earning just £2.90 per hour for 70-hour weeks, every pound you spend on corporate cheese instead of genuine British craft is a vote against the farmers who built this country's dairy heritage. Number 5. Pilgrim's Choice Lighter. Look at the packaging and you'll see Union Jack imagery, Great British cheese positioning, and UK identification designed to make you feel patriotic about your purchase. The promise is simple: all the cheddar taste with 30% less fat. Sounds perfect until you understand what fat actually does in cheese. Fat isn't just about calories, it's the backbone of cheddar's flavour and aroma, the carrier that traps and releases the compounds, giving cheese its signature depth and tang. When you cut that fat, you're not trimming richness, you're stripping away the main vehicle for taste. To compensate, manufacturers add stabilizers and adjust moisture balance, creating a texture that's elastic and springy instead of naturally crumbly. Run the bend test, and the slice folds without snapping, nothing like real cheddar. On the tongue, the experience is just as disappointing. Muted flavour, faintly acidic, with little savoury punch, and an aftertaste that fades almost immediately. And that British positioning? Pilgrim's Choice is owned by Ornoa, an Irish dairy cooperative headquartered in Dublin. According to industry sources, the cheese is substantially sourced from Irish-produced cheese. The label says produced in the UK and Ireland using milk from the UK and Ireland, packed in the UK. Technically accurate, deliberately vague, designed to let you assume you're supporting British farming when you're not. British dairy farmers are in crisis, with Parliament noting average earnings of just £2.90 per hour. When you choose cheese, thinking you're supporting British farming and that money flows to Ireland, British farmers lose.
Number 6. Tesco or Co-op processed cheese slices. At least these products are honest about what they are. The label says processed cheese slices right on the front. No pretense of being traditional cheddar. But honesty about the name doesn't make the ingredients any less concerning. Open the packet and read what you're actually buying. Cheese, water, emulsifying salts, starch and rapeseed oil. That vegetable oil is the giveaway. Instead of relying on natural milk fat, these slices replace a significant portion with cheaper rapeseed oil, a classic shortcut in ultra-processed cheese. The result shows itself the moment these slices hit heat. Place one in a hot pan, and instead of melting smoothly into creamy richness, the surface turns glossy and slick, with beads of oil pooling around the edges. This isn't the gentle ooze of real cheddar, it's a greasy puddle that leaves a film on your fingers and your pan. The science is simple. When non-dairy oils are forced into a cheese emulsion, they can't hold together under heat. The oil breaks free, separating into puddles, and what's left is a limp, oily sheet with flat flavour. One bite and the taste confirms what the melt test revealed. Salt forward with no dairy depth, no complexity, no finish. If the ingredient list includes vegetable oil and emulsifying salts, you're not eating cheese. You're eating an engineered product designed for price, not for taste or nutrition.
Number 7. Morrison's or Sainsbury's Basics Hard Cheese. These are the cheapest blocks on the supermarket shelf, often priced at 70 to 80 pence per 100 grams. That rock-bottom price comes with visible compromises you can spot before you even taste it. Slice into the block and the cross-section tells the whole story. Instead of a smooth, cohesive interior, you'll see a grainy texture riddled with sand-like specks that shouldn't be there. Run a knife through it and the blade drags, leaving a trail of coarse crumbles that refuse to hold together. The texture in your mouth confirms what your eyes already saw. Grainy, almost sandy, with none of the creamy or natural crumble you expect from proper cheddar. Try grating it, and instead of long, pliable strands, the cheese breaks into uneven fragments that scatter across your cutting board. The melt behavior is even worse. Sprinkle it on toast or stir it into a sauce, and instead of forming a smooth, cohesive layer, the cheese clumps and separates into patchy, greasy puddles. That graininess comes from rushed aging, low-quality milk and processing shortcuts designed to hit an aggressive price point. The manufacturers know they can't compete on quality, so they compete on cost, and you get exactly what you pay for, cheese that announces its failures before you swallow.
Number 8. Budget Deluxe Flavoured Cheddar Ranges. Premium flavours at budget prices sound appealing until you ask how that's possible. Lidl's Deluxe range positions itself as affordable luxury, combining gourmet additions like sriracha, walnut and oak smoking with accessible pricing. But in early 2025, the Food Standards Agency issued recalls for multiple deluxe cheddar cheese wedge products due to confirmed Listeria monocytogenes contamination. Listeria is not a minor food safety issue. UK Health Security Agency data shows a case fatality rate of 20 to 30% for invasive listeriosis, the highest incidence occurring in people aged 80 and over. Hospitalisation rates exceed 90%.
This is particularly dangerous for anyone with a weakened immune system, anyone over 65, and anyone pregnant. In pregnancy-associated cases, 43.7% result in stillbirth or miscarriage. And here's what makes listeria especially terrifying. It can grow at refrigeration temperatures. Your fridge doesn't protect you. The recalls happened, the products were pulled, but it raises fundamental questions about quality control in budget premium ranges across all supermarkets. When a product costs less but claims to be premium, something has to give. Sometimes it's the safety testing, sometimes it's ingredient quality, sometimes it's both. Premium claims mean nothing without the safety protocols to back them up. Check your fridge. If you bought Lidl Deluxe cheddar recently, verify it wasn't part of the recall. Now let's talk about the cheese that's actually worth your time, the cheese that still respects the basics: milk, time, and craftsmanship. West Country Farmhouse Cheddar (PDO) is the gold standard. PDO means Protected Designation of Origin, the same legal protection that covers Champagne and Parma ham. It requires production in Somerset, Devon, Dorset or Cornwall, using local milk, traditional hand cheddaring methods, a minimum 9-month aging, and no additives or colourings. Brands with PDO certification include Montgomery's, Keen's, Westcombe, Quick's, Barber's and Wyke Farms. But you don't need to visit a specialist shop. Tesco Finest Vintage Farmhouse Cheddar holds PDO status, made by Barber's in Somerset. Sainsbury's Taste the Difference Greens of Glastonbury is PDO certified and matured for 12 months. These are real cheddars, cloth-bound and aged properly, available in major supermarkets. For organic options, Yo Valley is Soil Association certified, with cows grazing outdoors an average of 235 days per year on GM-free pastures. Their cheddar contains nothing but milk, salt, starter cultures and rennet. No emulsifiers, no modified starch, no flavour compounds. Just cheese as it was meant to be made. Which one of these cheese brands surprised you the most? Drop your experience in the comments. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay aware, stay sharp, and protect your plate.